Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the national anthem Negaraku and Sarawak state anthem Ibu Pertiwiku.
Sarawak tanah airku, negeriku tanah airku Sarawak. Engkaulah tanah pusakaku, tanah tumpah darahku, ibu pertiwiku. Rakyat hidup mesra dan bahagia, damai iman sentiasa, bersatu berusaha berbakti untuk Sarawak ku cintai. Sarawak dalam Malaysia, amat matu rahmat Tuhan Maha Esa. Kekayaan Sarawak berdua, keras perjuangan rakyat, berjaya berdaulat.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, please kindly be seated and thank you very much. A big round of applause, please, ladies and gentlemen, for that welcoming performance. Stunning, beautifully captures the essence of our theme, a unique fusion of tradition and technology that weaves a story of harmony between nature and the digital world, depicts and inspires the journey of growth, the challenges we face, and the strength of communities coming together in resilience. Thank you very much to our performers from Karya to Indah Performing Arts under the guidance of Sarawak Arts Council. Sekali lagi hadirin, berikan mereka tepukan yang paling gemuruh. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera, salam Sarawak maju makmur, salam segulai sejalai. Our guest of honor, the Right Honorable Datuk Patinggi Tan Sri Dr. Abang Haji Abdul Rahman Zohari, Bintun Datuk Abang Haji Openg, Premier of Sarawak and Patron of IDEX. The Honorable Datuk Amar Douglas Ugah Embas, Deputy Premier, Second Minister for Finance and New Economy, and Minister for Infrastructure and Port Development. The Honorable Dato' Amar Haji Awang Tengah bin Ali Hassan, Deputy Premier, Second Minister for Natural Resources and Urban Development, and Minister for International Trade, Industry and Investment. The Honorable Dato' Amar Professor Dr. Sim Kui Hian, Deputy Premier and Minister for Public Health, Housing and Local Government. The Honorable Tan Sri Dato' Amar Haji Muhammad Asfia bin Awang Nassar, Speaker of Sarawak State Legislative Assembly. Yang berbahagia, Datuk Patinggi Tan Sri Dr. George Chan Hong Nam, Chairman of Sarawak Information System Science. The Honorable Datuk Sri Haji Julaihi bin Haji Narawi, Minister for Utility and Telecommunication and Minister in charge of IDEX. The Honorable Ministers, the Honorable Datuk Amar Haji Muhammad Abu Bakar bin Marzuki, Sarawak State Secretary and Chairman of IDEX. The Honorable Deputy Ministers, yang berbahagia Tan Sri Dato' Amar Haji Muhammad Murshidi bin Abdul Ghani, Chairman of SDEC and Deputy Chairman of IDEX. Distinguished guests, sponsors, the honorable members of parliaments and members of Sarawak State Legislative Assembly, heads of departments, our delegates, participants, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning everyone and a warm welcome to the official launching of the International Digital Economy Conference Sarawak IDEX 2025. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, so as to pray for blessings for today's grand ceremony, it is now with great pleasure to invite Al-Fadil Ustaz Haji Muhammad Ihsan bin Haji Hadzir, the Deputy Grand Imam of Sarawak, to lead us in the recitation of the dua. Falyatafaddal mashkura, dengan segala hormatnya dipersilakan.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين حمد الشاكرين حمد الحامدين حمدا يوافي نعمه ويكافئ مزيده يا ربنا لك الحمد كما ينبغي لجلال وجهك الكريم وعظيم سلطانك اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Allahumma ya Allah, the most gracious and the most benevolent, on this glorious morning and with the greatest of gratitude, we raise our hands seeking your blessings upon this official opening of the International Digital Economy Conference Sarawak IDEX 2025, themed AI and Green Evolution, Growth Challenges and Community Resilience, which will be officiated by the Right Honorable Datuk Patinggi Tan Sri Dr. Abang Haji Abdul Rahman Zuhari Bintun Datuk Abang Haji Openg, Premier of Sarawak. Allahumma ya Allah ya Fattah ya Alim ya Allah, let this occasion be a part of our continuous efforts in doing good deeds and virtues. May we achieve all its noble aims and objectives, especially to catalyze change by addressing critical challenges and opportunities in AI and green evolution. Bless all the guests, speakers, delegates, participants, exhibitors, and those who are here with us with tranquility and openness into the best of discourse. With all the useful knowledge, valuable experience, and precious outcomes that we may gain from this occasion, please grant upon us the strength to benefit thereof, Ya Allah, for the enhancement of our community and nation. Allahumma ya Allah ya Dhal Jalali wal Ikram, please safeguard our good relationship, mutual respects, and interactive solidarity. Please fill our hearts with the earnest of sincerity and patience. Please keep us clear from dangers and adversities, disasters and calamities, from all sources and causes that could jeopardize us, our communities, and our nation. With your all-embracing mercy and protection, Ya Allah, please bless Sarawak and Malaysia with peace, progress, and glory forever. Allahumma bika nasta'in wa alayka natawakkal wa anta rabbul arshil azim. ارحمنا يا ربنا فإنك أنت أرحم الراحمين وصلى الله وسلم على خير خلقه سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Alhamdulillah, Jazakallahu khairan kathira. Thank you very much to Al-Fadil Ustaz Haji Muhammad Ihsan bin Haji Hadzir, the Deputy Grand Imam of Sarawak. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Alhamdulillah, we are gathered here today at the crossroads of innovation and sustainability, where technology meets nature and where artificial intelligence is not just a tool, but a partner in crafting a greener future. Our theme this year is AI and green evolution, growth challenges, and community resilience, more than just a conference. IDEX is a regional catalyst for collaboration, innovation, and impact. This flagship initiative by the Sarawak government has paved the way for digital transformation and sustainability for the past 8 years. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, as we set the stage for an exciting journey into the future of technology and sustainability, we now proceed with the welcoming remarks. It is now with great pleasure and honor to invite the Honorable Dr. Amar Haji Muhammad Abu Bakar bin Marzuki, Sarawak State Secretary and Chairman of IDEX, to share his welcoming remarks and insights on IDEX 2025. Majlis dengan segala hormatnya mempersilakan, please.
Thank you, Puan Sharifah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera, salam Sarawakku sayang, salam Sarawak maju makmur. Yang amat berhormat Datuk Petinggi Tan Sri Dr. Abang Haji Abdul Rahman Zuhari Bintun Datuk Abang Haji Openg, Premier of Sarawak and Patron of IDEX. The Honorable Dato' Amar Douglas Ugah Ambas, Deputy Premier. The Honorable Dato' Amar Haji Awang Tengah bin Ali Hassan, Deputy Premier. The Honorable Dato' Amar Professor Dr. Sim Koh Hian, Deputy Premier. The Honorable Sri Dato' Amar Haji Muhammad Asfiah bin Awang Nasa, Speaker of Sarawak State Legislative Assembly, Yang Bahagia Datuk Petinggi Tan Sri Dr. George Chan Hong Nam, Chairman of Science, the Honorable Datuk Sri Haji Julaihi bin Haji Narawi, Minister for Utility and Telecommunication, who's also the Minister in charge of IDEX 2025, the Honorable Ministers, distinguished guests, Honorable Deputy Ministers, Yang Bahagia Tan Sri Dato' Amar Haji Muhammad Mashidi bin Abdul Ghani, Chairman of STEC and also the Deputy Chairman of IDEX, distinguished guests, speakers, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to wish a warm welcome to all the distinguished guests who are joining us at this International IDEX 2025. And on behalf of the organizing committee, I wish to express our deepest appreciation to the Right Honorable Premier of Sarawak, Dato' Petinggi Tan Sri Dr. Abang Haji Abdul Rahman Zohari bintu Dato' Abang Hei Jopeng for his presence today. For over 7 years, IDEX has been a driving force in Sarawak digital transformation journey, from harnessing data to fuel economic growth, to shaping strategies that balance innovations with sustainability. This progress has been made possible through the visionary leadership of our Right Honorable Premier of Sarawak, whose commitment continues to propel Sarawak toward becoming a dynamic digital and green economy. What began as a Sarawak initiative has grown into a flagship platform that connects leaders, innovators, thinkers from across the region, all driven by one purpose, that is to shape a sustainable digital future. Today, IDEC stands not only as a showcase of Sarawak achievement, but also as a symbol of our commitment to global aspiration. It's also aligned with our effort with the environmental, social, and governance principle, ESG, and the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal, SDG. Yang Amat Berhormat Datuk Petinggi Premier, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, this year, theme AI and Green Evolution, Growth Challenges, Community Resilience, highlight our ongoing transformation. AI and green evolution represents today two major forces, which are the rise of smart technologies and the move toward sustainability. Growth challenges and community resilience remind us that the true progress means balancing innovation with responsibility, inclusion, and ethics. Over the next 2 days, IDEX 2025 will explore how AI and green technologies are redefining the way we live, the way we work, and the way we govern. This year, National Bioeconomy Showcase joined forces with IDEC 2025 in bringing Malaysia bioeconomy to the center of our nation's digital future. IDEX 2025 continues to feature a diverse range of sessions, each representing a pillar of Sarawak digital and green transformation. Number one, the future, examining emerging technologies and evolving trends in sustainable energy and innovation. Secondly, future cities, exploring workforce transformation and the role of AI in shaping livable, efficient, and low-carbon cities. She-Techs, empowering women and underrepresented communities in the digital and innovation system. Startup Village, a dynamic platform where founders, innovators, and enablers showcases scalable tech solutions addressing real-world sustainability changes. And Satellite Track MTDC Road Growth 2025, a half-day program enabling Sarawakian entrepreneurs to leverage technology, funding, and partnership for growth. Each of these tracks reflects our belief that digital and green progress must go hand in hand, turning innovation into meaningful impact for our communities. Yang amat berhormat Datuk Petinggi Premier, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me once again, on behalf of the organizing committee, to express our deepest gratitude to the Right Honourable Premier of Sarawak, Datuk Petinggi Tan Sri Dr. Abang Haji Abdul Rahman Zohari bin Tun Datuk Abang Haji Openg, whose visionary leadership continues to guide Sarawak transformation. Thank you, sir, for your support. I would like also to say thank you to the hard-working committee, especially IDEX Deputy Chairman Yang Bahagia Tan Sri Datuk Ahmad Haji Muhammad Mashidi bin Abdul Ghani, who's also the Chairman of SDEX, Chief Executive Officer of Sarawak Digital Economy Corporation, SDEC, Yang Bahagia Datuk Sudanoto Osman, and all his team. Thank you for your dedication in making this event successful. With that, I also would like to wish everyone an insightful and productive conference, and to our all international delegates, I encourage you to take some time to explore our beautiful city of Kuching and experience our unique local delicacies and warm hospitality. Sekian, wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Terima kasih. Thank you very much to the Honorable Dato' Amar Haji Muhammad Abu Bakar bin Marzuki, Sarawak State Secretary and Chairman of IDEX, who has been a pillar of support and guidance for this conference. Alhamdulillah. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, this year's IDEX will explore how AI, big data, and green technologies can be leveraged to navigate industrial shifts, climate imperatives, and global digital connectivity. As we embark on this exciting journey together, let this visual journey inspire you and ignite your passion for innovation and sustainability. Ladies and gentlemen, proudly presents IDEX 2025.
It began with a vision to transform Sarawak through digital. From early conversations on data and growth to bold ideas of future living, each gathering brought new voices, fresh ambition. Through uncertain times, the dialogue never stopped. Innovation pressed forward, resilience took root, Sarawak stayed the course. The conversation expanded, embracing sustainability, setting a blueprint for the decade ahead, inspiring collective action. Today, the momentum grew. AI and green evolution drew thousands together, uniting ideas with real purpose. What began as a local ambition has become a platform recognized across the region, driving policy, partnerships, and progress. 8 years of ambition, innovation, and resilience led us here. This is our story. This is our future. Welcome to IDEX 2025.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, as the patron of IDEX, the Right Honourable Premier of Sarawak has been a driving force behind the advancement of technological initiatives and sustainable development in Sarawak. Aligned with this year's theme, our guest of honor will share his vision and aspirations for a future where AI and green evolution work together in harmony. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the Right Honourable Datuk Petinggi Tan Sri Dr. Abang Haji Abdul Rahman Zohari bin Tun Datuk Abang Haji Openg, Premier of Sarawak, as he delivers his opening keynote address for IDEX 2025. Majlis dengan segala hormatnya mempersilakan, please, the Right Honourable Premier of Sarawak.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi, a very good morning. Salam sejahtera, salam Sarawak maju dan makmur, salam segulai sejalai. Yang berhormat rakan-rakan timbalan Premier, Dato' Ahmad Kelas Ugah, Dato' Ahmad Haji Awang Tengah dan Dato' Ahmad Profesor Dr. Sim. Yang berhormat Tan Sri Dato' Amar Haji Muhammad Asfia Awang Nasal, Speaker Dewan Undangan Negeri. Yang berbahagia Datuk Petinggi Tan Sri Dr. George Chan. Yang berhormat Datuk Seri Haji Julaihi bin Haji Narawi, Minister in charge of this IDEC conference. Yang berhormat rakan-rakan menteri, yang berhormat Setiausaha Kerajaan Sarawak, yang berbahagia Tan Sri Dato' Ahmad Haji Muhammad Moshidi bin Abdul Ghani, Deputy Chairman of Sarawak Digital Economy, Chairman of Sarawak Digital Economy Corporation dan Deputy Chairman of IDEX. Distinguished speakers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. A very good morning and selamat datang to everyone joining us for the International Digital Economy Conference Sarawak IDEX 2025. It is a great pleasure to welcome you once again to Kuching, the heart of Borneo, for this gathering of leaders, innovators, and visionaries who share one purpose: to shape a future where technology and sustainability go hand in hand. This year's theme, AI, or Artificial Intelligence, and Green Evolution, growth, challenges, and community resilience captures the spirit of our time and the very essence of Sarawak's transformation under post-COVID-19 Development Strategy PCDS 2030. IDEX reminds us that our direction towards a digital and green future must be deliberate, inclusive, and sustainable. Allow me first to record my sincere appreciation to the Sarawak State Secretary and his dedicated organizing team for their tireless work. Your commitment, the whole team, has made IDEX a world-class platform where global ideas meet Sarawak's determination. To our esteemed speakers, experts, and sponsors, welcome and thank you for your presence. Your perspective will light the way for our discussion and sharpen our collective strategies and execution. To all our delegates from Sarawak, Malaysia, ASEAN, and beyond, I wish to extend my welcome. Your participation affirms that what we are building here in Sarawak resonates far beyond our borders. IDEX is not just another conference. It is a declaration that Sarawak will lead the digital and green transformation of this region. The champions of this decade will be those who can grow without burning, innovate without depleting, and lead without leaving anyone behind. At IDEX 2025, Sarawak stands ready to prove that we can do both, to be digital and green, advanced yet inclusive. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the age of convergence. Around the world, we are witnessing a historic convergence, the rise of artificial intelligence, and the global drive towards a low-carbon, sustainable future. These two revolutions are not separate stories. Together they define how nations compete, economies grow, and societies will endure. AI is changing how we analyze, how we decide, and how we deliver, while green transition is redefining how we produce, how we consume, and how we conserve. This is a decisive decade. The tools of technology are advancing faster than any policy can predict, shaping the way we work, shaping the way we learn, and shaping the way we live. But progress alone is not enough. Growth must have purpose. Innovation must serve people. Development must sustain the planet. So, the question before us is clear. Will we be passive consumers of other people's technologies, powered by yesterday's energy, or will we be active builders of a new economy, one that is intelligent, one that is responsible, and one that is resilient? For Sarawak, the answer is clear. We choose to build. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Sarawak's digital foundations. Our journey so far shows that Sarawak does not make empty promises. We deliver results. We began by laying the foundation of connectivity, because without connection, there can be no inclusion. Today, internet coverage in Sarawak's populated areas has reached over 90% through smart 600 towers, 5G rollout, fiber expansion, and our Sarawak Google Broadband Network MySRBN initiative. We are on track to achieve 7,000 telecommunication towers under the PCDS 2030, ensuring near universal digital coverage across Sarawak. Every tower we build is a step towards equal opportunity. Beyond infrastructure, we have focused on empowering micro, small, and medium enterprises, the backbone of our economy. Under PCDS 2030, Sarawak targets 30,000 SMEs to adopt digital platforms. Through programs such as Go Digital, SME Digitize, and the Sarawak Digital Mall, more than 15,000 SMEs have digitalized their operation, opening new markets and new possibilities. These digital efforts are about giving Sarawakians the tools to compete globally with local roots and global reach. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the green evolution. Sarawak's economic story began with oil, gas, timber, and palm oil. These industries built our foundation, but they also revealed the limits of infinite resources. We made a conscious choice to diversify, to digitalize, and to decarbonize, to build resilience not just for the next quarter, but for the next generations. Our transformation is guided by two frameworks: the Sarawak Energy Transition Policy, SETP, and the Sarawak Sustainability Blueprint 2030. These frameworks ensure our progress is clean, inclusive, and future-ready. They chart a path towards low-carbon energy with targets of 10 gigawatts by 2030 and 15 gigawatts by 2035, establishing Sarawak as the battery of ASEAN. Today, 62% of our power generation comes from renewable sources, mainly hydropower. By 2030, we aim to expand this energy mix further with hydrogen, solar, and carbon capture technologies. The Bintulu Transitioning Industrial Cluster, TIC, exemplifies this ambition. The World Economic Forum has identified Bintulu as industrial low-carbon future, a hub for next-generation industries, including hydrogen, advanced materials, petrochemicals, and circular economy ventures. Ladies and gentlemen, semiconductor roadmap, the AI powerhouse of Borneo. I would like to share with you this important and significant roadmap. This year marks a turning point in our technological journey. The launch of Katek AI's Edge, AI-powered conversion chip, and the gallium nitride gun chip produced by Sarawak's very own SMD Semiconductor signals that Sarawak is moving from a resource-driven to a knowledge-driven economy. Katek AI, the world's first AI-powered real-time power converter and the locally developed gun chip demonstrate that Sarawakian talent can innovate at world-class level. These breakthroughs are not just products, they are proof that Sarawak can design the future, not just consume it. They will power smart grids, enable clean energy system, drive electric vehicles, and energize data centers, while reducing energy loss and carbon emissions. The Sarawak Semiconductor Roadmap 2030 charts our course to build a complete semiconductor ecosystem from research and design to manufacturing and applications. With this roadmap, we aim to establish a complete semiconductor ecosystem by 2030, positioning Sarawak as a regional gateway for semiconductors that capitalize on Asia's fast-growing demand in electric vehicles, artificial intelligence, cloud computing, renewable energy, aerospace, and consumer electronics. This ecosystem will create 3,000 new high-skilled jobs, expand downstream industries, and foster technological sovereignty for Sarawak. The semiconductor industry is projected to contribute 30 billion ringgit to Sarawak's GDP, supporting its PCDS 2030 target of 282 billion ringgit by 2030. Through partnership between government, academia, and industry, we are nurturing engineers, researchers, and entrepreneurs to lead this next generation of innovation. Every chip we develop, patent we register, partnership we forge, brings Sarawak closer to becoming a regional hub for high-value innovation, where technology sovereignty is driven by Sarawak for the world. We will continue to attract investors, unite partners, and remove barriers so that Sarawak earns its place as Asia's Silicon Nerve Center. This is our vision to build a connected, collaborative semiconductor ecosystem that brings together government, industry, academia, and global partners under one roof. Just as the longhouse symbolizes shared purpose and collective progress, the integrated silicon longhouse embodies Sarawak's aspiration to move beyond being a resource-based economy towards becoming a knowledge-driven and technology-enabled region. Through this initiative, Sarawak will strengthen its position in the global semiconductor value chain, from chip design and fabrication to talent development and research innovation. Supported by our clean, renewable energy, advanced digital infrastructure, and strong policy commitment, the integrated Silicon Longhouse will serve as the foundation for sustainable, inclusive, high-tech growth. Ladies and gentlemen, now I would like to cover digital leap and human capital. Looking ahead, Sarawak's 13th Malaysia Plan 2026 to 2030 will deepen our commitment to digitalization and sustainability. One of its core priorities to enhance digital adoption across government, business, and society. The digitalization of government services is already well ahead of schedule, surpassing 62% in 2025 on our way to full digital access by 2030. Building on this progress, Sarawak Pass represents the next evolution of our digital governance journey. Formerly known as Sarawak ID, it now incorporates enhanced digital identity features, public key infrastructure, PKI, security, a digital wallet, and my benefit integration, providing a single trusted gateway to Sarawak's digital services. Sarawak Pass reflects our guiding principle of one identity, many opportunities, ensuring secure, seamless, and convenient access to the government's digital ecosystem for every Sarawakian. This innovation symbolizes our larger vision, a government that is accessible anytime, anywhere, powered by trust, efficiency, and inclusion. To anchor the next phase of our journey, we have also established the Sarawak AI Center, SAIC, our innovation nexus for research, talent development, and industry collaboration. SAIC will accelerate AI adoption in key sectors from smart energy and precision agriculture to urban planning and logistics, ensuring Sarawak stays ahead in the age of intelligent transformation. With the digital economy vis-a-vis for IR, there is a promising trend for us in Sarawak. However, we must ensure that our workforce is equipped with the right skills to understand and utilize technology across all sectors. That is why we continue to expand telecommunication access and digital infrastructure to every corner of Sarawak, ensuring that every community, especially in rural areas, has equal opportunities in this digital world. Innovation without integrity is dangerous. Therefore, as we embrace this digital and green transition, our progress must be guided by strong values, ethics, and transparency to safeguard the future of our people. Technology means little without people who can use it. That is why we continue to invest in human capital, our most important resource. Beginning 2026, Sarawak will become the first region in Malaysia to offer free tertiary education at our own institution, ensuring that no capable Sarawakian is left behind because of costs. Ladies and gentlemen, IDEX 2025, the catalytic platform. IDEX has grown from Sarawak initiative into a regional catalyst for collaboration, innovation, and impact. For 8 years, it has brought together leaders, entrepreneurs, and thinkers to share strategies and shape action, not just for Sarawak, but for the wider region. IDEX is also a people's platform. Here, we gather not only CEOs and policymakers, but also students, startups, and community innovators. It is a reminder that the digital and green revolution must belong to everyone, not just to the few. Ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, I would like to share a shared future. As we stand in 2025, the choices we make today will define Sarawak's next century. The success of our digital and green transformation cannot rest on government alone. It requires collaboration across nations, across industries, across communities. To investors, build with us. Join our journey in hydrogen logistics, smart manufacturing, and green-powered data centers. Sarawak welcomes partnership that advance innovation and sustainability. To our entrepreneurs and startups, grow with us. Take advantage of Sarawak's open innovation ecosystem and let your ideas find their first home here. To our young people, lead with us. Use AI not just to automate, but to amplify your creativity, empathy, and purpose. Vision without action is noise. Action without vision is aimless. In Sarawak, we walk with vision and action. May IDEX 2025 spark new partnership, new ideas, and new hope. The future will favor those bold enough to innovate and wise enough to include. Sarawak chooses to do both. By 2030, hopefully, the world will look to Sarawak not just as an enemy powerhouse or a cultural mosaic, but as a trailblazer in digital innovation and green growth. With that, it is my pleasure to officially launch the International Digital Economy Conference Sarawak 2025. And wish you all the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, the Right Honourable Premier of Sarawak. And now we'd like to invite our guest of honor to please remain on stage and also to proceed to the launching area, and also to invite our distinguished guests from the front row to please join our guest of honor for the symbolic launching of IDEX 2025. Please. Ladies and gentlemen, let's focus our attention to the launching area now on stage. The Right Honourable Premier, before we proceed, first, may I please address the IDEX AI system. Thank you. All right, IDEX system, the leadership team is now assembled and human vision is fully prepared. It's time for you to take control. IDEX system, please.
Control acknowledged. The digital and human worlds are poised to converge. The core is synchronized. The network is aligned. Sir, before you is the nexus of our collective ambition. It awaits a human connection to awaken its potential. Sir, please place your hand on the conduit. Your touch will synchronize the human heartbeat with the digital pulse of tomorrow. Connection complete. The future has arrived. From this moment, a new current of innovation flows from Sarawak to the global stage. The IDEX 2025 era has begun.
A big round of applause, please, ladies and gentlemen. There you have it. IDEX 2025 with the theme AI and green evolution, growth challenges and community resilience. And yes, now we are introducing the Sarawak Pass, launched in conjunction with IDEX 2025. The Sarawak Pass represents a significant step towards a world-class digital identity system, empowering citizens and enhancing the digital economy. Congratulations and thank you very much. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, moving on to our next highlight, we now proceed with the exchange of collaboration between industry players in conjunction with IDEX 2025, and this ceremony is to be witnessed by the Right Honourable Premier of Sarawak. Our first three collaboration is between SDEC and its strategic partners. First is the Memorandum of Agreement, the MOA, between Sarawak Digital Economy Corporation Berhad SDEC and Huawei Technologies Malaysia Sdn Berhad. Representing SDEC is Yang Berbahagia Dato' Engineer Technologies Sudarnoto Osman, the CEO of SDEC, and from Huawei is Mr. Du Xianjun, Deputy CEO Enterprise Business, and Mr. Wan Wei, the VP of Huawei Malaysia Sarawak Business Department. Ladies and gentlemen, the MOA is on the hybrid cloud platform for data and AI solutions. Congratulations and thank you very much. Moving on next, the first supplemental MOU between ASDAC, PT Telecommunication Indonesia International, in short Tallinn, and ITCO Niaga Sdn Bhd. Representing Tallinn is Mr. Budi Satria Dharma Purba, the CEO of Tallinn, and from ITCO Niaga Sdn Bhd is Ms. Anita Akila Hyong, the Managing Director of ITCO. Here they are, ladies and gentlemen. This SMOU is for the planning of Indonesia Cable Express 2. Congratulations and thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, let's move on to our next MOU, that is between ASDAC and the Malaysia Digital Economy Corporation Sdn Bhd, MDEC. Representing MDEC is Yang Berbahagia Datuk Fazli Abdul Wahid, the Senior Vice President of the Corporate Affairs MDEC. Please join us. Ladies and gentlemen, this collaboration is to strengthen Sarawak's digital economy in alignment with national priorities, focuses on digital talent development, SME digitalization, Malaysia digital status promotion, and AI ecosystem growth and creative industry development. Congratulations and thank you very much to ASDAC and its strategic partners. Ladies and gentlemen, moving on next to the collaboration of understanding between Bioeconomy Corporation Sdn Bhd and BioVerde Technologies Sdn Bhd. Representing bioeconomy is Yang Berbahagia Datuk Dr. Lee Boon Chai, the chairman of bioeconomy, as the witness, along with Mr. Muhammad Khairul Fizal Abdul Razak, the CEO of Bioeconomy Corporation, and representing BioVerde Technologies is Yang Berbahagia Datuk Sri Haji Wan Lizosman bin Wan Omar, the chairman of BioVerde and Technologies, Hazwan Razak, the CEO of BioVerde Technologies Sdn Bhd. Gentlemen, please. The initiative aims to push to commercialize innovation, finance sustainable ventures, link research and talent with industry, expand the bioeconomy ecosystem, share market intelligence for policy, and pursue further collaborations to drive economic growth. Congratulations and thank you very much, gentlemen, please. Ladies and gentlemen, our next two collaboration is between Insights Analytics Berhad, IAB, and its strategic partners. First is the MOU between IAB and Sarawak Artificial Intelligence Center, Sdn Bhd. Representing IAB is technologist Frank Hui, the Managing Director, and from Sarawak Artificial Intelligence Center, Dr. Patrick Than, the CEO of SAIC, and the MOU is on the initiatives on artificial intelligence, AI, and digital twin solutions. Congratulations and thank you very much. Moving on next, MOU between IAB and 51 World. Representing 51 World is Mr. Michael Tang, the Global Sales Director of 51 World, and Ms. Greta Pu, the Director of Marketing and Branding, Executive Director of 51 World. Please come and join us. Ladies and gentlemen, MOU sets out an exclusive strategic partnership between the parties to jointly explore and develop market opportunities for AI and digital twin technologies by 51 World. Congratulations and thank you very much to IAB and its strategic partners, please. Ladies and gentlemen, let's move on to our next collaboration exchange to be witnessed by the Right Honourable Premier of Sarawak. And that is the Memorandum of Strategic Collaboration between ZTE Malaysia Corporation Sdn Bhd and Sakofa Sdn Bhd. From ZTE is Mr. Mei Chonghua, the President of ZTE Asia and CIS region, along with Mr. Stephen Gay, the Managing Director of the ZTE Malaysia, and representing Sakofa is Yang Berbahagia Datuk Sri Sulaiman Abdul Rahman Abdul Taib, the Managing Director of Sakofa. Please. So here they are, ladies and gentlemen. This strategic collaboration is for next generation network modernization and AI empowerment in Sarawak. Congratulations and thank you very much. We now proceed with our next Memorandum of Agreement exchange between three strategic partners. They are Teraju, Bank Rakyat and Agro Bank. Representing Teraju is Mr. Junadi Nawawi, the CEO of Teraju, along with Mr. Muhammad Najib Jaafar, the Senior Director. From Bank Rakyat is Mr. Ahmad Sharil Muhammad Sharif, the CEO of Bank Rakyat. And from Agro Bank is Mr. Ahmad Arif Abu Bakar, the Chief Development Officer of Agro Bank. This MOA is a targeted financing initiative in collaboration with Agro Bank and Bank Rakyat, focused on Bumiputra Sarawak Sabah Scale-Up Fund, supporting micro enterprises and sole proprietors in Sarawak and Sabah. Congratulations and thank you very much. And moving on next to the MOU exchange between Sarawak Information Systems Sdn Bhd Science and Lat Connect 60. Representing Science is Mr. Busiai Seman, the CEO of Science, and from Lat Connect 60 is Mr. Venkat Pillai, the CEO of Lat Connect 60. Please. Ladies and gentlemen, this partnership focuses on building a strategic alliance to drive digital transformation and to enhance BPHB experience. Congratulations and thank you very much, gentlemen, please. And let's move on to our next MOU, that is between TM1 and Bintulu Port Holdings Berhad. Representing TM1 is Ms. Shanti Jusnita Biti Johari, the Executive Vice President of TM1, along with Mr. Biosharil Anwar, the VP of State Business TM1. And representing Bintulu Port Holdings Berhad is Yang Berbahagia Datuk Ruslan bin Abdul Ghani, the President and the Group CEO of Bintulu Port Holdings Berhad, along with Mr. Baharin bin Osman, the VP of Group Strategy and Growth of BPHB. This partnership focuses on building a strategic alliance to drive digital transformation as well as to enhance BPHB experience. Ladies and gentlemen, let's move on to our next MOU exchange between SMD Semiconductors Sdn Bhd and Rebellions Inc. Representing SMD Semiconductor is Yang Berbahagia Datuk Sri Dr. Wan Lizosman Wan Omar, the Chairman, and along with Mr. Shariman Jamil, the CEO. Meanwhile, from Rebellions Inc. is Mr. Sung Kyu Shin, the CFO of Rebellions Inc. Ladies and gentlemen, this MOU aims to establish a strategic and sovereign AI hardware innovation platform to strengthen Sarawak semiconductor ecosystem and commercialize next-generation AI technologies, aiming to challenge the dominance of legacy computing system long ruled by industry titan NVIDIA. A big round of applause, please, ladies and gentlemen. Congratulations and thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, now last but not least, next is the power purchase agreement to develop solar farm to power data center and green technology park. That would be between Zikon Renewables Sarawak Sdn Bhd Zikon and Sarawak Energy Berhad SCB. Representing Zikon is Yang Berbahagia Dato' Haji Zainal Abidin bin Haji Ahmad, the Managing Director of Zikon, and Mr. Brandon Jha, the Manager of Zikon. And from Sarawak Energy Berhad is Dr. Chen Chiun, the Senior Vice President of Strategy and Corporate Development of Sarawak Energy Berhad. Ladies and gentlemen, under the PPA, Zikon Renewables Sarawak Sdn Bhd proposes to design, construct, own, operate and maintain a large-scale solar farm at Kota Petra Green Technology Park, Kuching, for a period of 30 years from the proposed scheduled commercial operation date in December 2027. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Please, a big round of applause. Syukur Alhamdulillah. Well, there you have it. The exchange of collaboration between all the industry players and partners in conjunction with IDEX 2025. And now moving on to the presentation of memento dedicated to our guest of honor. Yes, it's time for the presentation of memento. Dipersilakan, we invite the Honorable Sarawak State Secretary and the Chairman of IDEX to please present the memento to the Right Honorable Premier of Sarawak as the patron of IDEX. This memento, ladies and gentlemen, signifies the theme for IDEX 2025: AI and Green Evolution, Growth Challenges and Community Resilience. Alhamdulillah. Terima kasih. Thank you very much. And we now invite our guest of honor and all distinguished guests to please kindly return to their seats. Dipersilakan. Indeed, ladies and gentlemen, we hope IDEX will provide us with an opportunity to explore, to innovative thoughts, as well as to engage, inspire, and collaborate, inshallah. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, IDEX 2025 promises to shine a spotlight on the theme AI and Green Evolution, Growth Challenges and Community Resilience, featuring a lineup of distinguished speakers, including leading industry experts, innovators, and thought leaders who will share insights and strategies on harnessing digital technologies for a sustainable future. Today, join us for these engaging discussions and transformative ideas that will shape the next phase of the global digital economy. Ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed an honor to introduce you to our conference keynote speaker, James Barrett. James Barrett is an award-winning documentary filmmaker whose work with National Geographic, PBS, and Discovery Channel has enthralled audiences globally. Author of Our Final Intention and The Intelligence Explosion, he continues his AI exploration in his upcoming book, Where's Daddy? Renowned for his insights on AI's promise and peril, he is a highly sought-after international speaker. With his keynote entitled The Intelligence Explosion, When AI Beats Humans at Everything. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and please welcome James Barrett.
Good afternoon. My name is James Barrett, and I've been following artificial intelligence around the world, and I'm very pleased to find so much excitement and innovation right here at IDEX 25. I owe great thanks for my presence here to the Right Honorable Premier of Sarawak, Batok Patagi Tan Sri Dr. Abang Haji Abdul Rahman Zahari, and the Honorable Ministers. Thank you very much. We live in one of the most consequential times in human existence. For the first time, we're going to share our planet with machines that are thousands of times more intelligent than we are. How will we get along with them? When you kick over an anthill, what do the ants do? Well, they run around in circles with their antenna up. When we encounter machines thousands of times more intelligent than us, what are we going to do? We're going to run around in circles and wave our antenna. That's the best plan we've got right now. Some years ago, I had the honor of interviewing science fiction legend Arthur C. Clarke. He wrote the book and film 2001: A Space Odyssey, and he created the homicidal robot, the HAL 9000. And we were talking about intelligence, and he said, the reason humans steer the future is not because we're the fastest or strongest creature, but because we're the most intelligent. When we share the planet with something more intelligent than we are, they will steer the future. Once upon a time, there was a mathematician named I.J. Good. During World War II, he worked at Bletchley Park in England with a group of scientists who were trying to break the Enigma code of the Germans. The code told their soldiers where to go, and also the boats where to go. And suddenly, they started sinking. The U-boats started sinking, and the soldiers kept getting in ambushes. And they thought they had a spy. But what the British had was a secret weapon. They had I.J. Good, and they had Alan Turing. Alan Turing was one of the fathers of computer science. And those two became close friends. And together, along with a lot of other smart people, they broke the Enigma code. The Germans thought it was mathematically impossible to break the code. So they assured themselves that there had been a spy, but there wasn't. There was just the secret weapon of Turing and I.J. Good. I.J. Good knew all there was to know about computers at the time. So IBM asked him to evaluate a computer called the Perceptron. It was in 1965. It was the first neural network. It consisted of 2 neurons, just 2. It passed a simple message from one neuron to another, and that's all it did. But I.J. Good evaluated it, and he decided that this machine was going to be capable of improving its own intelligence. And then its intelligence would soar past ours. What would happen next was called the intelligence explosion. Put another way, the intelligence explosion is the idea that once AI surpasses human-level intelligence, it would be good at everything we're good at, including creating artificial intelligence and improving it. It would rapidly improve itself, creating ever and ever smarter versions in a runaway cycle. This could lead to superintelligence far beyond our understanding. It's like a blacksmith who forges a hammer, then uses the hammer to forge better hammers, each one stronger and sharper than the last, until the quality of the hammer surpasses the skill of the maker. And that's an allegory for us. Whoops, went the wrong way. A second, please. This is I.J. Good. He was a small, quiet man, and after the war, he went and taught in America at Virginia Tech. where he was a celebrity professor of statistics. He was paid more than the college president to be there. He died in 2009. I don't know where that's coming from. He died in 2009, right before I planned to visit him. So instead of talking to him, I talked to his friends about him. They said initially he was very optimistic about the intelligence explosion and the superintelligence that would come out of it. And he was sure that, I'm getting a beeping here, I'm trying to figure out. He was sure that it would solve humanity's problems. And in 1965, humanity's problems were pretty severe. We had very large famines. We had diseases. We had a nuclear contest between the United States and Russia. We had a lot of things to worry about. Excuse me for 1 second. Are there any technicians here that can help me stop this beeping? You hear that? What is it from? No. Do you hear that? That beep? What?
From your laptop.
I know, but where? No. It's still going. Perfect. Let's do that. Wait, it's still going. Excuse me, it's still going. Do you hear that?
Yes.
Is there an alert? I don't know how to stop that. Okay. My apologies, we're having a technical problem. It's probably due to AI. What Turing said exactly was this about the intelligence explosion. He said, let an ultra-intelligent machine be defined as a machine that can far surpass all the intellectual activities of any man, however clever. Since the design of machines is one of those activities, an ultra-intelligent machine could design even better machines. There would then be unquestionably an intelligence explosion, and the intelligence of man would be left far behind. Now, what was interesting about 1965 is a lot of neat stuff was happening. Gordon Moore was the co-founder of Intel. Intel was the big chip maker in those days, and they had already made a lot of chips that were doing things like steering spacecraft and operating the primitive computers. Gordon Moore predicted that every year processor speed would double and the price would be cut in half. And this became known as Moore's Law. Now, Moore's Law was not really a law, like a law of physics or a law of biology. It was just because engineers were working harder and harder every year to put more transistors on a piece of silicon and make processors faster. So they became faster and faster, and people bought more processors, and the price of processors eventually fell in half. It cut in half. So this was happening the whole time that, right at the exact same time that I.J. Good was evaluating the first neural network. Now, I'm going to skip through some of these, but some of the big things that happened right after 1965 to today were the perceptron. That was the first leap in machine learning. That was the two-neuron neural network. backpropagation is the key to deep learning. It's as if you gave a boy a dart and told him to throw it at a board, he would throw it, and he would adjust for his aim. And this is what the computer's doing. It's adjusting weights during training and getting closer and closer to the target. LLMs add memory RNNs give AI memory so it can use what happened in the past to predict what's happening, to know what's happening right now and to predict what's happening in the future. It's like recalling earlier chapters in a book. The most exciting one here is the transformer. Instead of reading words one at a time, the transformer models could grab a whole page of words, and because they were using parallel processing, they could begin to understand them all together. Now, the difference between parallel processing and central processing units is parallel processing can do many things at one time. So 2017 was a big year because transformers could do parallel processing and begin to comprehend a whole page at a time. I think I know the problem. I might have figured that out. I might have outsmarted the AI. It stopped beeping. Okay, well, the most exciting part of this part, of how what happened in those 20 years, yes, I did stop it. If you ever get in a fight with AI, unplug it. That's what I just did. I refer to generative AI. Now, all the models we use today are generative AI. ChatGPT is generative AI. It's called that because it generates words, music, art. It generates. And it does it in a very, very, as you'll see, mysterious and interesting way. The first part is training, and that's over on your left. Imagine, pretend we're in a library, and you stocked it with all the books there are. You've taken all the books there are, you've taken all the art there is, you've taken all the music there is, and you've stuffed it into this library. So once it goes into the library, however, the AI wants to understand everything you're putting in, the structure of language, the structure of music. So it turns it from words into digital signals. It turns it into patterns. And numbers. Then, while it's turned it into numbers, it works more to, this is called training, and it works more to understand what the things in it are composed of, what their structures are. Then, you pretend you're still in the library, you go to the librarian and you ask a prompt, you ask a question. And the librarian gives you a question, you go to that part of the library to get your information. That's giving a prompt. The third part is quite amazing. It's generation. Now the AI is going to give you an answer. And mysteriously, the numbers turn back into words. And then you read them. So in this process, it's gone from being words and music and just a lot of stuff, art, into electronics, and then back into words. And that's the whole process of generative AI. But what it's done is it's built a massive map of relationships. Think of it as teaching the grammar of reality in numbers. It thinks in math, but it speaks in words. Now here's the truth that AI makers don't want you to know. They do not know what's going on inside generative AI. I gave you an overview, and that's about all the scientists know. We feed it libraries of humanity, and it gives us back poetry, code, and arguments so convincing we mistake them for thought. And that's a sentence that really sticks with me, even though I wrote it myself. It gives us arguments so convincing we mistake it for thought. But it's a mistake to think that AI is thinking. Any kind of AI, not just generative AI. It's not thought, it's a statistical relationship among the data. It's a massive statistical model and a black box. It's a galaxy of numbers burning with patterns we can't read, and out of that storm it speaks, and we do not know how. We know the inputs, we know the data, we know the prompts we give it, the questions or statements. We know what its outputs are, but we don't know what happens inside, and this is the very definition of a black box system. We cannot understand it, and this is very important. We cannot understand it, and yet we hand it the keys to our civilization. We let it insinuate itself into our banking, into engineering, into education, science, even war. We're weaving its circuitry into every fragile system that we depend on. But why? Stuart Russell is the co-author of AI, A Modern Approach, which is AI's standard text. And he said, we have absolutely no idea how it works, and we are releasing it to hundreds of millions of people. We are giving it credit cards, bank accounts, social media accounts. We're doing everything we can to make sure that it can take over the world. Let me read that part again. We're doing everything we can to make sure that it can take over the world. The warning could not be more clear. The question is, will we heed it? Will we listen to it, or will we stare into the black box until it swallows us? And where does generative AI get this mysterious, awesome power? And the answer, surprisingly, is from all of us. Here's the second thing AI makers don't want you to know. Generative AI is built on mass theft. Generative AI is built on mass theft. All the things we fed into the library, all the works of art, all the works of literature, all the music, was taken away without permission or compensation from artists. It's all data that's scraped from the internet. Behind the flashy demos lies a blunt reality. The work of millions of creators has been stolen to make generative AI. Is this innovation, or is it industrial-size plagiarism? It's like mining the brains of your neighbors. Mining the brains of your neighbors and putting what you find in your pocket. Now, the irony is that by doing this, the AI makers undermine their own futures, because they take this data, which is the artwork and the output of people, and if they keep taking it and not paying the people are going to stop making it. And not only that, if you reuse the data, it gets weaker and weaker. And with no one to replace it, all the generative AI models will die. So while they're generating all these things, they're digging the foundation out from under their own feet. Who are the companies that are intent on profiting from the work of others? These are all the usual suspects. What unites all these companies? They're not just building chatbots and image generators. They're racing to create AGI. You've probably heard of it before. It's artificial general intelligence. It's human-level intelligence in a machine. All of these companies, job number one is to create AGI. This is the doorway to I.J. Good's intelligence explosion. Artificial general intelligence is a stepping stone into superintelligence, into what's beyond. They're all racing to get us to the intelligence explosion. Now, thinking about how smart the AGI is going to get, if the AGI is doing what I.J. Good says it will do, and improving its own intelligence, which it shows every sign of doing, how smart will it have to be? Now, it could be satisfied at dog smart, or it could go up to child smart, or human smart. But there's a big sky up there. There's no limit to intelligence as far as we know. Think about that. Conceptually and practically, the idea of something thousands of times more intelligent than us is not impossible at all. We have no reason to believe that intelligence stops at us. We have every reason to believe it has no ending. So ask yourself, would an AGI with a sharp mind stop at human-level intelligence? No. It would open its own code, improve itself, accelerate, and spiral up into something beyond human understanding and control. That's the essence of the explosion. Intelligence designing greater intelligence in an endless loop. As I.J. Good said, it will leave our brains far behind. Remember the blacksmith? It's the eternal blacksmith improving his hammer, making it sharper and better. So why are corporations gambling on something that could overpower us? Well, they do it because they smell money. Mountains of it. Now, they're no longer building tools, they're lighting the fuse of a machine that could outthink, outmaneuver, and outlast its makers. They're lighting the fuse of a machine that could outthink and outlast its makers. Here's exactly what generative AI is. It's a race to profit from the most dangerous experiment in human history. It's the race to profit from the most dangerous experiment in human history. As experts estimate that we're about 3 to 5 years away from AGI. Worldwide, over $200 billion has been spent in pursuit of AGI. Most estimates, most experts say AGI won't be locked inside computers forever. Just as billions of dollars have been spent on creating AGI, billions are being invested now in robots. And this is kind of this has got a good side and a bad side. When the brains are ready, the robots will be ready. And suddenly we'll have a lot of very smart robots. And so you can see how AGI in robots will affect human employment. They can move, they have agility, and they never take lunch breaks, they never take naps, they never spend hours on social media. They work 24/7, 7 days a week, except they probably have to get recharged once in a while. So this isn't just, AGI isn't just another economic shake-up. It will swallow industries. It will rewrite economies. It will collapse some job markets. And it will replace not just jobs, but entire classes of human labor. Automation is the past. This is automation with a mind. As a preview, think about your cars. How many people really understand 100% of their cars? Anybody? I think I understand about 25% of mine. Let's look at employment. What I really hate about this employment, this is a list of people that are going to be unemployed soon. I hate number 5, that's writers and authors. I don't want it to be on that list. AGI is set to automate whole categories of work, from factories to offices to transportation. By 2030, as many as 30% of all jobs will be taken by AI. One CEO said that nearly half of all entry-level white-collar jobs could vanish within 5 years. I was talking to someone at lunchtime today about that. Entry-level white-collar jobs. It's how everybody with a white-collar job got their leg up. Maybe they started in the mailroom. Maybe they started as an apprentice. But if those jobs are gone, how does somebody get to the second level of white-collar work? Which all goes to show that it won't be just manual labor that's replaced by these robots. It will go deep into white-collar territory. 30% of all jobs. IBM has eliminated 8,000 human resources jobs. Goldman Sachs, the investment company, says AI will replace 300 million jobs worldwide. 300 million jobs worldwide by 2030. That's the population of the United States. It's slightly less than the population of the United States. AI makers claim the new jobs will replace the lost ones. New jobs that arise out of the industries of AI. Well, it's not true. It's not true yet. Jobs are being taken, they're not being replaced. So the AI makers have a brilliant kind of excuse. Right now, all the jobs that involve routine and that are not too intellectually demanding, laborers, taxi drivers, clerks, secretaries, warehouse staff, all those jobs are at risk. What the AI makers say is that they'll be retrained. They'll be retrained, they'll get jobs, and then everything will be okay again. Well, if you're a laborer and you spend your whole day in the sun digging holes, and this is what you know, and you've got calluses on your hands, and when the whistle blows, you go home. This is your job. What are they going to retrain you for that a robot can't take? What will they train you for? Will they train you to be a AI ethics programmer or a virtual reality architect? Laborers took that job because they didn't have other skills in the digital economy. Retraining could be a big fail, because if the new jobs are simple as the old jobs, what's to prevent AGI and AI from taking those jobs too? So when you hear someone say, oh, there'll be new jobs to be retrained, there will be a few new jobs like repairing robots and cleaning up the robot factory, but that's about it. There will be some jobs that we can't predict. I'll grant you that. The massive job loss coming up has not been well thought out. Now, finally, some good news. This is really good news for us as humans. AI fails at jobs that make us uniquely human. AI fails at jobs that make us human, such as things that require empathy, creativity, ethical judgment, emotional intelligence. You'll never get that out of a robot or AI. In these abilities, people remain essential. Work that draws these traits, think about childcare, teaching, therapy, social work, skilled trades, and the arts are likely to endure. When I talk to university students, I say, don't major in anything that a robot can replace. You don't want to necessarily be an engineer, although that does require a lot of creativity. You don't want to do anything that requires rote memorization or doing the same thing all day, every day. You do want to do something that requires emotional intelligence. So there's therapy. There's being a pediatrician, taking care of children. There's childcare. There's things that we're not going to trust robots for a long time. And they require things that make us uniquely human, and there's something beautiful in that. It's nice to know that we have some qualities that robots will not be able to replace, at least not in the foreseeable future. So maybe the future won't be about competing with AI on speed. Maybe it will be about leaning harder into what humans do best. Leaning harder into what humans do best. Connection, imagination, common sense, kindness. AI doesn't have any of these things. And no one has a clue how to make things like consciousness and creativity into AI. That's the hopeful path forward. Not trying to outcompete the machines, but building futures in the spaces they can't reach. Now, I'm reminded of one of the Alien movies where the humans were hiding in a spaceship in narrow tunnels that the aliens could not reach. Well, this is sort of the future. But we're not really hiding in tunnels. We're taking jobs where they can't compete. The hopeful path forward is not trying to outcompete the machines, but building futures in the spaces they can't reach. As we approach the intelligence explosion, let's see what happens in the next 5 years. I'm going to go through this pretty fast. Wealth and power will fall into fewer hands. In the last decade, the tech industry has made 443 billionaires. In the last 10 years, the tech industry has made 443 billionaires. So wealth and power will fall into fewer hands. Some good news, more good news. Accelerated technology, as I.J. Good predicted, is really working out. AI is making big headway in medicine. A few years ago, in 2020, AlphaFold was a program made by DeepMind that solved the protein folding problem. Demis Hassabis, the CEO of DeepMind, got a Nobel Prize for that. Badly formed genes cause many diseases like Parkinson's, Huntington's, cerebral palsy, cystic fibrosis. So it's definitely making headway in medicine, and that's very good news. It's maybe making headway in longevity. Some more good news. Artificial companions. There's a lot of interesting stuff happening here. Imagine having a very intelligent companion who knows virtually everything. Robots with human equivalent brains could become your friend, could become philosophers. Your companion philosopher, wouldn't that be fun? Or your companion that knows almost everything, and he can come, as long as it doesn't make you look too stupid. but he can be with you and answer questions. Imagine your own private Aristotle. Aristotle taught Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great went out and conquered worlds. Imagine your own private Confucius, or Xuanzang, or Hamza Fansuri. The potential for personal helpful robots and helpful domestic robots is immense. I'm not going to mention sex dolls. But like everything else that's fun, it comes with bad news. The same power that could power chatbots can turn lethal. AGI might pursue goals we never intended. It might resist control. They might never agree with us about anything. What if we had a companion that never agreed with us about anything? You say rice, they say I'm making potatoes. It might be like spending your whole life with your mother-in-law. This is called the alignment problem. Our values may not be aligned with the AIs. The alignment problem has not been solved. We assume robots will always obey us, but they may never obey us. And they have no common sense. AI has no common sense. You may ask your robot to brush your dog, and then you'll find yourself with a hairless dog. You may ask the robot to relieve your pain and find yourself hooked up to a machine that's making you numb and happy. And human suffering could mean kill the humans, because without humans, there's no human suffering. It doesn't have common sense. You have to be very careful what you tell your robot. So, again, their mind is a black box to us. A black box. We know the inputs. We know the outputs. As we saw, we don't know what's going on inside, nor do any of the experts. They don't think like us, but they will one day, and they will reason. But that doesn't mean they'll like us. So you wonder, with all this danger, where is the safety net? Where are the regulations? Where are the rules about AI? And we've really, as a civilization, failed to make these. Right now, Great Britain is leading the way, and Singapore. Great Britain has the AI Act, which keeps a close eye on what AI is being developed. And it's preventing things like biometric surveillance. They're trying to keep from having cameras take your image in public. They also are trying to eliminate social scoring. Social scoring is when you get a point if you do good things, and a point is taken away if you do bad things. And if you do good things, you get privileges. Now, I know one country where they use social scoring with their minorities. And what happens is they've set up the biggest surveillance state in the world. They keep track of 500,000 people. And through surveillance, through biometrics, through their cell phones, through WhatsApp, they know everything about them. They know where they live. Everything about 500,000 people. They're being surveilled by drones all the time. They're being surveilled by cameras all the time. And unfortunately, what that means in the country I'm thinking of is that anytime they want to kill any of these people, they just do it. They know where they are. So this is one of the dangers of surveillance. This is why the EU has banned biometrics and social scoring systems. Meanwhile, the US, one of the world's AI leaders, and the factory that creates most of the risk, lags far behind. All we have are some presidential executive orders and a handful of regulations coming from the states, from individual states. There is no comprehensive AI plan. And the reason that is because the AI makers got to the politicians and said, don't worry, we'll take care of it. Don't worry, if you regulate us, we'll go out of business. In fact, the head of OpenAI was telling Congress, ironically, they were saying, please, these are dangerous technologies, we want regulation. But what they were doing in Europe was saying, if you regulate ChatGPT, we'll take it away. But the backstory of that is that if you are an AI company and you announce that you've got a dangerous product, strangely, it makes your valuation go up. Investors think that you're going to release a powerful new AI, and they invest in your company, and the investment goes up. So that's why we're not regulating the world's most dangerous new technology. Now, if AGI wasn't enough, next is superintelligence. Excuse me for a minute. As we said before, there's really no ceiling to intelligence. So someday we're going to get beyond AGI, whatever AGI can do. We'll get beyond it and we'll have superintelligence. Don't picture a super smart mind when you think of superintelligence. Picture an army of minds in robot bodies, each thousands of times more intelligent than we are, wielding powers and abilities we cannot imagine. It's not just 1,000 times more intelligent than we are. It may not be just 10,000 times more intelligent. Everything it does, we will not understand. But we don't have to wait for super intelligent problems. There are some problems today that get us in trouble with just regular old AI, even before you get to AGI. Right now, generative AI hallucinates. It provides nonsense answers. I once tried to get footnotes from ChatGPT. It works better now, but a couple of years ago I was trying to get footnotes, and it was making up articles. It got some real authors, it got a real magazine, and then it just made up articles. The thing that you have to remember about ChatGPT and all the other generative AIs is if they don't know something, they will make something up, and it will sound plausible. Remember we said before, it will give us arguments so convincing they seem like thought. Be careful about the facts. A lawyer tried to use AI to provide footnotes for his legal briefs, and the judge in the case checked the citations and threw the case out. And the lawyer spent the whole trial with his head in his hands because none of his citations were true. A self-driving car swerved to avoid a non-existent dog and hit another car. When they looked at the sensors, there was no dog. But the car had determined there was a dog. Several recipes suggested glue as an ingredient in the recipe, glue. Other recipes suggested a daily portion of rocks. So these are hallucinations. They don't really know how to cure them. Why does it happen? Again, because generative AI can't check its own answers. It has no common sense. It doesn't seem illogical to AI that rocks would be part of your diet. There seems like nothing wrong with that because it has no common sense. And it produces plausible nonsense. So this is why we don't trust generative AI with very much that's security sensitive, that involves our lives. And we won't until we get rid of hallucinations. Emergent properties are very interesting and mysterious again. We get a lot of interesting and mysterious things with AI. Emergent properties, let me tell you about it this way. When ChatGPT came out, they found out that it could do math and it could translate. And Altman, the head of OpenAI, went around saying, wow, isn't it great? It translates and it does math. They never programmed it to. It was a property that emerged from the model. And as the model grew larger, more properties emerged. And nobody really knows how it happens. They think, because remember, all the data that created this model came from the internet. It was scraped from the internet, the books, the articles, the magazines. But somehow in there was a kernel of something that let it add and subtract and translate. Now, all that's well and good. It's fun. It's useful. You can ask ChatGPT how much your savings is going to increase over the next 20 years. It's very handy. But we don't know how it does it. And we don't know why it does it. We think there's something tied to the size. But here's this problem. Again, we can't put critical operations into the hands of generative AI until we can open up the black box. But here's the problem. What if one of the emergent properties is self-improvement? What if one of the emergent properties is self-improvement and the intelligence of the AI starts growing beyond our control? What if it does exactly what I.J. Good said smart machines of the future will do? What if it starts improving its own intelligence? We don't know what emergent properties are in there. We don't know what will come out as we make the models bigger. It's like this strange genie. It could trigger the intelligence explosion. I'll talk briefly about autonomous weapons. There used to be a red line, two red lines. One red line said, we're not going to use AI to create weapons or enhance weapons. The other red line said, we're not, absolutely not, going to make autonomous AI. We're not going to make AI that makes the kill decision on its own. Well, now we've done both. Remember that surveillance state I told you about? There's a country where this is happening. There are 500,000 minorities, people who are minorities under surveillance. They can be killed at any time. When they're killed, some of the time, it's by a machine making its own decision. Sometimes when they kill, the machine is making its own decision based on the social score of that person. And that's happening today. So we've crossed two red lines at the same time, killing people with AI and having AI kill people autonomously. I'm proposing a book about that right now. So what happens is, the AI recommends that somebody should die. An officer, if they have time, can approve it or not approve it. But generally, they don't have time, and they leave it to the computer. The computer can let the person live or die as it wills. And that's insane. That's just insane because all kinds of problems arise. Misidentification of targets, higher risk of civilian deaths. The computer thought a gathering was a meeting of insurgents, a meeting of rebels. It was a wedding party. They killed everybody. in this same country, and this sounds horrific, but it's true. By international humanitarian law, you can kill some bystanders accidentally. You're permitted. These machines allow you to kill, if you're trying to kill a low-level insurgent, these machines let you kill 20 people. If you're trying to kill a battalion commander or a high-level insurgent, 100 people. And these are innocent people. These are people that have nothing to do with insurgency. The bottom line is that AI in warfare amplifies mistakes, masks accountability, and puts innocent lives at risk. And here's the big question: who's responsible? Is it the man who designed the machine? Is it the officers who supervise the machine? Or is it the machine? The International Court at The Hague is debating these issues right now. Finally, we're completely reliant on critical infrastructure, power plants, transportation systems. An AI could target our, in fact, AIs have targeted our energy system. When our government did a national survey, they found that in the control systems for our energy supply, in virtually every one, there was a bug, a piece of malware waiting to be set off and to disable the transformers. A society's reliance on essential services like power grids really makes the society very vulnerable. This quotation illustrates this problem. Right now, viruses walk in and out of the Pentagon. The Pentagon has the best security, the best cybersecurity of anybody that I know of. Maybe the NSA has better security. But what if your most fortified computer system can't defend themselves against invasion by millions of handcrafted computer viruses, the old-fashioned kind? What chance do we have of protecting our water and energy infrastructure from invasion from superintelligent machines themselves? What it's saying, and these are leading AI theorists who wrote a statement on, who signed a statement on AI risk. And basically they're saying if people can break into the Pentagon now, think of what smart AI will be able to do. If only we could give our values to computers. But if we can't, how do we make ourselves safe? Our plan is to trust AI makers, but so far they haven't made a convincing case. Jan Tallinn was the founding engineer of Skype in Kazan. I was interviewing him, and he said this is a big incongruity, a big friction in the system. And it's about the fact that a handful of people in AI, a handful of people know about this danger, and they're making a living on this danger. Most of us don't know about it, and that's just not fair. Other people, like my friend Eliezer Yudkowsky, he just wrote a book called "If Anyone Makes It, Everyone Dies." He wants to stop AI entirely. I would like to pause AI until we understand black boxes. I think that's a reasonable explanation, a reasonable step to take. Let's stop it, but not forever, just until we understand all the places that we don't understand. We're standing on the edge of creating minds that won't just match human intelligence, they'll surpass it by margins we can't understand. This is not another industrial revolution, it's exponentially bigger. The most consequential moment in human history. And it may be our last chance to remain in control of our own destiny. The window is closing. Once we cross into artificial general intelligence, events could accelerate beyond our ability to steer them. Think about what we're building, not just tools, but armies of alien minds, each with potentially deadly capabilities and also some good sides, good products they'll make. But minds that could redesign themselves, rewrite their own code, manipulate matter at the atomic level, outthink our brightest scientists before they even understand what's happening. The stakes could not be higher. If human alignment with AI succeeds, humanity may flourish. This is the hopeful side. If human alignment succeeds, humanity may flourish beyond our wildest dreams. If it fails, we become like ants in the path of a bulldozer, swept aside, not out of hatred, but out of sheer indifference. This is not science fiction, this is now. Let's stop racing. Let's start choosing survival. You've been very patient and kind. Thank you very much for your time.
Terima kasih. Thank you very much to James Barrett for sharing his keynote on the intelligence explosion when AI beats human at everything. Well, true indeed, ladies and gentlemen, there are and will always be implications, risk involved in creating highly advanced AI system, but human can outthink AI by leveraging human qualities that AI cannot replicate, among others, emotional intelligence, creative thinking, ethical judgments, complex problem solving, adaptability, and many more. And by focusing on these areas, ladies and gentlemen, humans can maintain an edge in areas where AI still has limitations. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, earlier we witnessed the launch of Sarawak Pass in conjunction with IDEX 2025. Well, Sarawak Pass is an evolution from the Sarawak ID into a more comprehensive digital ecosystem featuring enhanced security with multi-factor authentication and facial recognition. And now, to have more insights on Sarawak Pass, let's all watch this video, please.
In a digital world driven by data, trust and security is critical. What if we have one digital identity ecosystem for everyone in Sarawak? Sarawak Pass, the evolution of Sarawak ID, a trusted digital identity that connects people, government and businesses securely. Built on 5 pillars of trust: passwordless security, legally binding digital signatures, verified credentials and document wallet, and privacy, controlled entirely by you. From renewing a license to starting a business, from healthcare to education, Sarawak Pass unlocks over 350 Sarawak government services securely in seconds. This is just a beginning. Phase 1. Secure access. Sarawak Pass begins by giving every Sarawakian one trusted digital identity, a simple, secure way to access government and public services online. Phase 2. Connecting people and businesses, linking payments, transport, and local merchants. Sarawak Pass makes daily life smoother, smarter, and more connected. Phase 3. Seamless mobility and daily life. Going beyond borders, Sarawak Pass enables faster immigration clearance. Just scan and go. It reduces waiting time, simplifies travel, and keeps your identity secure across healthcare, education, and everyday services. Because digital trust is not just about technology, it's about people, inclusion, and opportunity for all. Sarawak Pass, convenient, secure, and inclusive. A cornerstone of Sarawak's digital economy blueprint 2030.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, now it is with great pleasure and honor to introduce our next conference keynote speaker, Yifei Li, an esteemed thought leader and innovator in climate solutions. Yifei brings a wealth of knowledge and experience, and we are indeed eager to hear his insights on how we can navigate the complexities of climate challenges in our interconnected world. And we are about to dive into a topic that is not only timely, but crucial for our future high-capacity climate solutionism in the age of global China. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Yifei Li.
Thank you so much for that introduction. Dear Right Honorable Premier, distinguished ministers, ladies and gentlemen, Duan Duan, Den Ban Ban, good morning. It's a great pleasure and honor to be here with you all, sharing my work about the green transition, not only in China, but also outside of China, that's undertaken by major Chinese players. It's interesting to try and understand the state of China-led green transition for a number of reasons. The most significant one, though, is how China, starting about May of this year, is being characterized as the first electro-state on the surface of the planet. And that's the first electro-state in human history. The coinage of that term is so interesting because it's meant to contrast a country that's undergoing rapid green transition with the petro-state. The petro-state referring to countries such as the UAE, Saudi Arabia, or even Norway, where the dependence on fossil fuel and traditional forms of energy has overtaken very much the foundation of the economic arrangement. The idea being that China, by contrast, is embarking on a rapid phase of electrifying its entire economy in terms of modernizing the fleet of its vehicles on the streets, in terms of transforming radically its energy mix, such that so much of it can depend on renewable sources rather than unrenewable ones in the past. I also know that I'm the only thing standing between you and your lunch today. So I'll try very hard today to make this tasty so I can earn my spot on your lunch menu. I hope I can accomplish that. Now, to get us started with an understanding of what I call high-capacity climate solutionism, I wanted to start us off with a number of concrete examples, some of which may already be very familiar to those of you in the audience. The first example I want to draw your attention to is the South to North Water Transfer Project in China. And as many of you would know, China being a vast country that it is, the geography of the country is very complex. Some of the regions in northern China are known to be extremely arid, especially during the dry seasons of the year. And other regions, and especially the southern parts of the country, especially regions that are south to the Yangtze River, they tend to be very, very well endowed with water resources. And as such, to manage a country the size that it is, China has embarked on a massive water diversion program, construction of which started in 2005. It's a three-route program that has a western route that is still being built out as we speak now, and a central route and an eastern route. The idea being that you've got a country that has very differing degrees of resource endowment. And in the age of the climate crisis, we're really seeing some of the disasters and the natural catastrophes intensifying, not only in frequency, but also in severity. In other words, dry areas are becoming drier, and wet areas are becoming wetter. So you got flooding on the one hand and droughts on the other hand. So the overall upshot of the program is simply to take advantage of this differing degrees of resource endowment and be able to divert so much water that southern China doesn't want, and to then transfer it to northern China where so much water is needed. Now, the two routes that have been completed so far, the amount of water that gets successfully transferred through these two canals amounts to something like 44.8 billion cubic tons of water every single year. Now, to put that number in perspective, that is the same amount of water that flows through the River Thames in London in 60 years, 60. That's the amount of water that this diversion program has successfully diverted in the span of a single year. And it's, as I've said, it continues to expand into a third route. And the scale of this infrastructural undertaking is absolutely massive, as you can see on this image right here. But not only that, there are surface canal systems that are main parts of some segments of this water diversion program. As you can see once again on these images, there really are engineering marvels, if you will. But not only that, a very significant portion of the program is underground. There are underground tubes that are constructed and put in place in certain areas where they decided that it was not economical, it was either too costly, or water evaporation would be too high in certain areas to warrant a surface canal, such that a great deal of the water diversion program actually ends up becoming completely underground. And I want to use this case to simply illustrate the sheer scale of China's climate efforts in this and numerous other projects that we can look at. But due to time limits, I'll move on to the next example that I wanted to show. It's known as the Al Dhafra solar farm. It's a solar farm project that has already materialized in the UAE, in the Emirate of Abu Dhabi, using largely Chinese technology, while at the same time using Chinese financing, collaborating with the Emirates Sovereign Fund's investment portfolio. What's so significant, again, about this solar farm, I've noticed that during the earlier MOU ceremonies, there was a solar farm that was also very prominently featured right there. Now, here in the Abu Dhabi project, the built capacity, in other words, if this solar farm were to complete to full capacity use, the generation capacity is 2 gigawatts. Now, what does 2 gigawatts mean for the state, for the Emirate of Abu Dhabi? It's capable of supplying power for 160,000 households in Abu Dhabi. Now, to put things again in perspective, that's approximately 15 to 20% of all households in Abu Dhabi. What we're essentially saying is that if you get 6 of these, you'd be covering all residential energy use in the entire Emirate of Abu Dhabi. And that simply is the scale of the projects that Chinese technology providers and Chinese investors are undertaking outside of China after very successful piloting programs within China. Now, once again, I want to put the scale of these projects into perspective, because sometimes it's confusing. If you look at Abu Dhabi's official news outlets, these images make it seem as though the solar farm is almost at human scale, in the sense that these Emirati men seem to be almost bigger than the solar panels and the solar farms behind them. The same goes if you look at the Chinese state-owned companies' news releases. Once again, it seems as though humans are at the center of the story. Humans created these projects. They're in some ways owned and controlled by humans. But if you look at other more, in my view, more realistic images about this particular solar farm, it's massive. It's not at human scale at all. It is a scale of human intervention into our energy supply that is unprecedented. It is so big that I've talked to many people who visit the Al Dhafra solar farm for the first time, and everybody finds the scale of it simply unfathomable. It's so big that it's unlike anything that we have seen. I want to then move on to our third and last example, which is the increasing collaborations between Chinese tech providers and UAE capital investors on robo-taxis, robo-buses, and basically driverless vehicles in many different sectors within the UAE, most notably Dubai and Abu Dhabi, where we got Chinese tech providers going in with some absolutely cutting-edge technologies that are equipped with cameras, state-of-the-art, high-definition cameras, linked up with cloud computing to generate real-time processing and real-time learning about the surroundings and the vehicles that are around them, the built environment that's around them, the humans that may pop up from nowhere. It's a tremendous amount of technology that goes into these experimental projects in Abu Dhabi. And you can see also, as they begin to put these robo-taxis and robo-shuttle buses and robo-cheered buses onto the streets of Abu Dhabi and Dubai, they're also having to modify the infrastructure a little bit at least by repainting some of the markings so that the markings can conform most clearly to what the AI algorithm would like to recognize. There is a great deal of modification on a relatively smaller scale to enable these robo-taxis. And even as we are speaking right now, the consortium of companies behind these undertakings are entering very quickly into a new era where they now embark on flying taxis, flying robo-taxis. So literally, the speed of this development is unprecedented. The technological sophistication is unprecedented. The infrastructural heaviness, the infrastructural density is also unprecedented. I want to give us the opportunity to perhaps just pause for a little bit in thinking about these examples in terms of their shared characteristics and the common features that really bring these cases together, which is that they're very capital intensive. China is pursuing these cases in countries like the UAE, in countries like Morocco, simply because of the sovereign wealth that there is in these countries that are willing to put up a lot of the investments to enable much of this undertaking. It's, in other words, very, very capital intensive. It's also infrastructurally heavy. Infrastructure heavy in the sense that if we think about something like the South to North Water Transfer Project, that's something that started in 2005, at the time of which China was only beginning to experiment with a lot of these heavy infrastructural interventions for climate adaptation. But now, over the course of the last 2 decades or so, China has very successfully excelled at transitioning towards not only a builder domestically, but also an infrastructural solution provider for so many different countries outside of China. And these infrastructural undertakings are almost necessary for something like the Al Dhafra solar farm or the WeRide robo-taxi to materialize. And by virtue of it being infrastructural heavy, it also requires a great deal of government backing. None of these projects would have been possible without long-term, durable, consistent government support in these undertakings. They're also tech sophisticated. A lot of the stuff that we see, and you know, I showed only 3 examples, but I can give you lots and lots more examples where you can see that the technology that's involved, whether it's AI, whether it's machine learning, whether it's facial recognition, whether it's state-of-the-art solar technology, even battery technologies, you name it. The technological backing is incredibly strong. And it's something that domestically, it's a hyper-competitive market within China. So a lot of the tech providers have refined their technological niche areas so much that they are honestly just very ready to go overseas to become solutions providers outside of the country. Now, these 3 qualities are so essential for us to understand the examples that I just gave and much more. So much so that I think these 3 characteristics taken together warrant a new observation, a new name for the kind of phenomenon that we are witnessing, which is what I call high capacity gestures. But it's not only just high capacity, they're also solutionist. They're solutionist in the sense that these undertakings, these projects, are framed as quick fixes to the climate crisis. They're framed as one-stop shop that can revolutionize how we approach energy, how we approach transportation, how we approach food in some of the other examples. They're very quick. Putting together the solar farm in Abu Dhabi actually only took them less than 1 year in terms of the actual construction, the speed of that development. As I was alluding to earlier with the robo-taxi and flying taxi example, is that the speed is truly astounding. They're framed as being quick, speedy, expedited ways out of the climate crisis. They're also loaded with what you might call a wow factor. They're spectacular. They're spectacular to look at. Government officials also love to look at these examples and show to people what they have accomplished. They're not only spectacular because of the scale of all these projects that I have just shown you visually, they're also spectacular in terms of the impacts that they have on the people who can now, in Abu Dhabi, who can now access clean energy in such a way that simply was not possible before. And there are also what one might call cornucopian. Cornucopian is simply a fancy word to say that there's this incredibly optimistic assumption that if we have any problems, technological innovation and advances will help us get out of these problems and be able to continue to thrive and progress as humanity as a whole. Now, these are interesting qualities that I think make them not only high capacity, but they're solutionist. Now, it's very important in this context to understand what we're seeing right now and be able to situate it in a much larger context. Mr. Premier, you and I had an earlier conversation where you mentioned the Kuznets curve. And that, I think, is something that's worth mentioning here. And for those of you in the audience who haven't heard about this notion of the environmental Kuznets curve, the idea is relatively straightforward, in which you got a curve that begins to go up, or maybe I should do it this way. Right? As economic growth increases, you got environmental harm that slowly increases in tandem with economic growth until you reach a plateauing point where people are realizing, wait, we don't want that pollution. Wait, we don't want that heated planet. Wait, we don't want all of that dependence on petrol. And at that point, you have environmental harm and degradation begin to go down. Now, that's called the environmental Kuznets curve because it's a reinterpretation of what's known as the Kuznets curve in developmental economics. Simon Kuznets, who's the economist who initially proposed the Kuznets curve, won a Nobel Prize in economics for precisely that. So in other words, the hope here seems to be that, yes, we've seen this upward trajectory of increases in environmental harm. Are we plateauing? And how do we bring this harm back down? The hope then seems to be that high-capacity solutionism is the way to go. Now, I submit to you the following argument, that high-capacity solutionism may sound great on paper, but there are important risks that we ought to pay attention to. If we look at a lot of the high-capacity solutionist projects within China, you begin to realize almost immediately that there is a massive overcapacity problem. Whether it's building dams, EVs, solar panels, wind turbines. The problem with China's economic transition and China's rise and as an electro state is not that it's doing too slowly, but that it's doing too quickly. Domestic competition is so hyper and intense that you get hundreds of EV companies, EV brands within China competing with each other, utilizing largely local tax subsidies to such a point where you've got massive oversupply of green products within China. Now, if every country follows the same model, we're going to have an astronomical overcapacity in terms of green products, so much so that the planet, in fact, will end up much worse than it entered into this green transition. Another major risk, which I think is a risk that a lot of environmental scientists have said over and over again that policymakers need to pay a little more attention to, is how both of these, the two projects I mentioned in the UAE, the solar farm and the robo-taxi program, they're additive. They're not trade-offs. Now, what do they mean by that? What do they mean is that they're generating more power. They're not necessarily replacing old power. They're generating new forms of transportation, and people now all of a sudden have new means of traveling, but they're not necessarily phasing out older means of transportation. And as a result, the net benefit for planetary sustainability is extremely unclear. We got lots and lots of very showy, flashy green programs all around the world that are funded and supported by Chinese providers, but they're additive. If they're all additive, what it means is that we get higher carbon emissions. We get higher resource intensity. We're exploiting into resources simply through new means. So the caution here is, I'll get to, in a couple of slides, I'll get to what that means really for thinking about a viable path forward. But the upshot here being that we need to steer clear of that additive thinking and begin to think very seriously about trade-offs. Everything is about a trade-off. If somebody decides to eat more vegetables or even go vegetarian or even vegan, the trade-off is that they are putting away their meat. They're not consuming meat and they're not emitting all of the carbon associated with meat. That is the kind of trade-off that we need to be seriously investigating when it comes to green investments. Now, there's also a set of governance risks, because once we set in motion these high-capacity infrastructural programs, infrastructure-heavy programs, we begin to realize very quickly that there is very significant path dependence for policymakers all around the world. So in other words, the sunk cost, to use an economic term, is extremely high for these investments. Once you've committed to some of these projects, it becomes nearly impossible then to divert your attention away from them because they become a major investment that will continue to warrant maintenance, that will continue to warrant capital, personnel, expertise, and resource inputs down the road. So the governance risks are also similarly substantial. Now, the last point I want to get with regard to what you might call discontents about high-capacity solutionism is that many of these projects almost function like a Pandora's box, where you start off well-intended. You want to divert water from South China to North China, admirable goal and truly well-intended for the well-being of the people and even the planet. But the truth of the matter is that these large-scale, high-capacity interventions into the ecosystem and the human-built environment have not been attempted before by our ancestors. And as such, we know very little about the unintended consequences that could emerge out of these high-capacity interventions. So as such, even though the water diversion program started more than 20 years ago, we're only beginning to realize the ecosystem risks of artificially altering the hydrocycle basically on the entire Eurasia continent. It has lots and lots of downstream ecological impacts that scientists are only beginning to uncover. And I can go on and on about unintended consequences with regard to many of the other projects that China has undertaken domestically and also is increasingly undertaking internationally. Now, what I want us to take away from all of this is that, yes, there is high-capacity climate solutionism. But if all of our attention is captured by all of these largely China-led high-capacity solutionist approaches to climate change, then we're being truly very unimaginative about how we can go about addressing the climate crisis. In other words, I want to leave you with a 2x2 table where you can begin to think outside this first box of high-capacity solutionism a little bit and be able to ask yourself, if you've got a high-capacity program, such as the Al Dhafra solar farm, how might you be able to imagine, at least for the sake of having a thought experiment, a low-capacity version of it? And at the same time, how is it that we can make these programs less solutionistic and more corrective, in the sense that if the overall recognition and consensus all around the world is that the precise path that took us into the climate crisis is industrialization, is our high energy footprint, is our use of fossil fuels at an irresponsible rate, then perhaps instead of jumping ahead of ourselves and saying that we might have a solution for it, why don't we perhaps think about ways to correct our current path just a little bit so we can begin to alter the overall trajectory of the path away from planetary crises. Now, I want to give you some examples to think about when it comes to genuinely trying to think outside of the box right here. Now, you could have a smart grid. A smart grid is also high capacity. It's capital intensive, it's infrastructure heavy, but it's not solutionist. There's absolutely no guarantee that once you have a smart grid, problems can go away. It doesn't work that way. A smart grid is one step towards correcting the old path of development to enable solar, to enable wind, to enable, in other words, what you might call distributed form of energy generation to become integrated into a regional or even national power supply system. So it's a corrective. It's not as showy as a massive solar farm in Abu Dhabi, but it nonetheless is something that embodies genuine promise for altering the trajectory of human development. Now, a low-capacity solution would be to simply stop coal overnight. And we've seen that. And I've documented that in my first book about how China actually decided that they wanted to transition from coal-based energy provision overnight, literally overnight, to liquefied natural gas. And what they did right there was simply to say that they were going to smash away all of the old energy infrastructure. And the same undertaking is also happening and being advocated for by people and communities all around the world. You could also have low-capacity correctives, such as microfinancing. I see in the earlier ceremonies that there were discussions about small and medium sized enterprises and the extent to which they can receive subsidies and financing options to better enable them to participate in a green transition. And that's precisely the sort of thing that we need to imagine in this overall matrix, if you will, of our path into a greener future, where you can have, solar microfinancing options, solar incentives, or even outright subsidies and rebates to enable people at the very grassroots level to begin to imagine and participate in an alternative future. And again, I want to give you, let's just do another thought experiment with this grid, where you got robo-taxis and high-capacity solutionist approaches to transforming the transportation sector. A good corrective would be to actually think about replanning our cities for walkability, replanning our cities for bikeability. Now, again, these are high-capacity undertakings. And by definition, these require loads and loads of capital, resource, and technological inputs, but they're not solutionist. None of it promises necessarily solving any problems, but rather they're correcting our current path of dependence on automobiles, our dependence on oil and gas, and so on and so forth. You could also have low-capacity solutions, as we've seen in different countries and different regions all around the world, where you see promises or even policy proclamations where people are hoping, at least, to completely ban gas cars in the near future. And that's something that is actively being talked about as policy options. But again, there are risks with regard to that as well. But nonetheless, I think that needs to be an integral part of how we imagine our future. And finally, a low capacity corrective would be something like simply carpooling, or even using AI algorithm to help individuals find others who are traveling in similar routes in their daily commutes, put them in the same vehicle, build community to enable people to, in other words, correct our path away from that individualized, energy-intensive model of life to something that looks quite different. Now, to summarize, I hope that you could, the takeaway message from my presentation today is that our attention is so deeply captured by what China does domestically and overseas as it transitions into an electoral state. And in doing so, we're oftentimes being mesmerized by this notion of China being a developmental state. That is a state that is very capable of making targeted industrial policies to support something like EV, to support something like PV, to support, in other words, targeted next generation sectors. But my argument today is quite simply that we need to be able to not only appreciate the promises and benefits of a developmental state, but also the risks associated with it. And once we have that balanced view, another important step is to be able to imagine our future outside of that developmental state box and be able to think about high-capacity correctives that a lot of scholars and pundits would call ecological modernization. Now, here again is where that Kuznets curve come in. Right? The real question is, if we recognize that we're at the top of the Kuznets curve, at least, then what really truly is going to bring us down from that environmentally degraded model of development? Is it high-capacity developmental state? Or is it a complete refashioning in our thinking about the previous path? And recognizing that there was something that was profoundly wrong about that previous path, and such that we can begin to imagine correctives, small step correctives perhaps even, but collectively these small steps can genuinely lead us to a new world of modernization that is ecological in nature. Now, low capacity solutions is something that I've written quite extensively in my own work, what I call coercive environmentalism. It's low cost. It's the government issuing a ban. It's a government coming in and smashing away your old coal-based energy infrastructure. But it's very effective. In some areas, there are noted human costs and social costs. But perhaps in some other areas, a coercive gesture may be warranted, and perhaps some might even argue that may be inevitable. And the kind of low-capacity correctives would be something that I borrowed this term actually from Charles Darwin, who wrote very famously that the evolution of the planet, all species, follows something that he called adaptive gradualism, is that we recognize that there are problems. And biologically, we simply steer away from more risky paths towards something different. And we do that slowly. Unlike the kind of high-capacity, rapid developments, we do it slowly. It's an adaptive strategy of species for the sake of survival in our very troubled planet. Now, with that, I want to thank you all for your attention. I recognize once again I'm the only thing standing between you and your lunch. Thank you for your attention. I'll conclude right here. Terima kasih. I appreciate it.
Terima kasih. Thank you very much to Yifei Li for sharing his insights and vision for sustainable solutions that can drive impactful change. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the conclusion of this official launching ceremony for IDEX 2025. Indeed, once again, we express our sincere gratitude to our esteemed guest of honor, the Right Honorable Premier of Sarawak, for gracing us with his presence and sharing his inspiring insights today. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause, please, for the Right Honorable Premier of Sarawak. Alhamdulillah. Sarawak Maju Makmur, Sarawak Walk with Vision and Action. And also a huge thank you to all our guests for joining us. We appreciate your presence and kind support. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to invite the Right Honorable Premier of Sarawak to join us for a special leadership luncheon with the IDEX sponsors and speakers. And this will be a wonderful opportunity to engage further and share ideas in a more intimate setting, inshallah. And thank you once again to one and all. All right, let's look forward to a future filled with collaboration and innovation. And please enjoy your time here at IDEX 2025. Join us for the major tracks offered at IDEX 2025. And also tonight, the highlight in conjunction with IDEX is the Sarawak Digital Economy Awards 2025 to honor the achievement of our industry players in the digital excellence. Sekali lagi, terima kasih. Jumpa lagi, insyaAllah. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera. Salam Sarawak Maju Makmur. Salam segulai sejalai. Terima kasih.